Welcome back, Fantasy Endgame fam, Fantasy Baseball players. We are back wrapping up another week of Fantasy Baseball. We do technically still have one more game tonight. We'll get to that shortly. But first, as we always do on Sunday, we are going to break down the best two-start streamers heading into this upcoming week. If you stream pitchers, which I don't know why you wouldn't, you definitely want the guys who have good matchups and two starts. Very, very helpful in your fantasy baseball league. So let's break those guys down. Starting at the top, your number one streamer this week, Taj Bradley. It has not been a great season for Bradley. He's got a 4.06 ERA in only 44 innings, but he does have 53 strikeouts in those 44 innings. But over the last two games, 13 innings, 14 strikeouts, had an 11 strikeout game against the Cubs, has only given up 2 earned runs in those last two games. So heading into this week, he's looking good. He's looking much better, and his matchup is fantastic. The Seattle Mariners, the Washington Nationals. I'm guessing this is like almost a slam dunk here.
Yeah, this is one of those pitchers that I really feel should be beyond streaming status. I've talked about him on the waiver wire. I feel like it was a couple of weeks ago. I guess I need to talk about him again. He's only half owned, basically, in Yahoo leagues, which to me is a little surprising. I mean, I understand because it wasn't that long ago he did get rocked. But since that game, which, by the way, was against the Baltimore Orioles, who happen to be the best team in the American League. Sorry, Yankees fans. I'm Team Oriole here. Since that Orioles game, he's only given up a total of 3 runs in the last 3 starts. That is good. And I think the season-long stats, say if you look at it, it's like nothing too impressive. But this is one of those cases where it was skewed big time by one really bad start. He's had more than one bad start. He had another, but still, this guy's been mostly really good. And a smaller sample because, remember, he was not on the field for the first, month and a half of the season. So to some extent, he's a high-end prospect for the Rays, and not prospect anymore, but last year had a rough rookie season. This year was hurt. So I know a lot of people just kind of forgot and moved on, but the talent is still there. It's really interesting because I know some people aren't crazy about Bradley because he doesn't have great fastball, and he doesn't, but he's making up for it with excellent secondary stuff. So I think he's shown us enough right now. And I think a 29% strikeout rate is definitely enough to convince you that, he is pretty much legit. And with a good schedule this week, he's, to me, top priority, must add.
Yeah, definitely. When you got a guy that's striking out more than a hitter per inning and has getting you deep into games, quality starts, not giving up runs. I mean, that to me sounds like an ace, but we'll see if he keeps it up. How about another guy who kind of looks like an ace that you never would think could be an ace? Once again, we're going to talk about knuckleballer Matt Waldron. 5 straight quality starts. He's gone at least 6 innings in 5 straight, of course. You got quality starts. Over 7 innings in 3 of those games. He's only given up more than 1 earned run in 1 of those games, and he hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs in any of those games. And he's even getting you a decent amount of strikeouts. 8 strikeouts, 4-4. Okay, he did have that 2 strikeout game against the Mets, but they're on fire right now. More about them in a bit. And 6 strikeouts against the Phillies. So, and also this week gets Washington. We know that's a great matchup. And Boston, that shouldn't scare you. So, once again, are we trusting the knuckleballer Matt Waldron?
I mean, if not now, then when? I mean, what else is it going to take, right? I don't know what else he needs to do. I mean, this is what you look for a streamer, a guy who's going to go 6 or 7 innings, guy who's going to get you a chance for a win and is getting quality start after quality start. And the strikeout rate isn't abysmal. A lot of these pitchers are still in the waiver wire and are streamers. That's it, right? There's always something missing. Like, why are these guys, and we'll see, in fact, a lot of the pitchers left. Like, the ratios are good, but there's no strikeouts, or they're on a bad team and they're not getting any wins. Well, the Padres are okay. I mean, he can still get you wins, and the strikeout rate is not bad. It's just, I guess people don't want to buy into the knuckleball. That's all I can think of. But there's nothing else he can do. Like, nothing's going to change here. Now, the one thing I will say about Waldron this week is I'm a little nervous about the Boston start because Boston has been really good, and at Boston, Fenway, not a friendly place for pitchers. So that second start would possibly concern me, except the fact that he's a different kind of pitcher. I don't even know if the rules apply to him, because it's like either a team can hit him or they can't. Nobody's hit him lately, so I'm not going to worry about it. The leagues where I did pick up Waldron, I'm still starting him, and if he's still out there, I mean, why is he still out there?
Yeah, why exactly? Now, speaking of one of those pitchers who has great ratios, but not a lot of strikeouts, Tyler Anderson of the Los Angeles Angels, and obviously not a lot of wins because, well, it's the Angels and they don't win many games. Although he does have 6 wins on the season, which seems pretty good. But this is a guy who's been good pretty much all year here. He's got a 2.48 ERA. He's gone 6 or more innings in all but 2 games this year. But of course, I mean, look, the strikeouts, well, they're pretty bad. I mean, only 63 strikeouts in 94 innings. So he's not going to give you a ton of strikeouts, right? The most strikeouts he's had this year is 6, and he did that opening week against the Phillies. So, but if you're looking for a quality start, if you're looking for good ratios, he can get you that. And he has arguably the best schedule this week. Oakland and Detroit. There's no reason to think he shouldn't at least be great in ratios. Probably going to give you a quality start or 2, maybe eke out a win, some strikeouts. So is the strikeout the thing that's keeping him down here a little lower than those other guys?
That's it. I mean, you're not getting much, but like something's got to give here. You're talking about these streamers. This is exactly what I was talking about. This is the definition of boring veteran. Innings eater, guy who'll go out there, get you 6 innings, pass it on to the bullpen, watch the bullpen, give up the lead. That's that's life as an Angels pitcher. But look, 2.48 ERA, that's pretty good. Not many pitchers out there at this point in the season. He's been out there all season, so we got a good body of work, and he's almost at 100 innings on the year. And his ERA and his whip are that low. Can't tell me this doesn't help you in a league where he's got 2 starts. This does help you. So I would rather take on the risk of not getting that many strikeouts than a guy who I think might get a lot of strikeouts and possibly get lit up. So yeah, this week with that schedule, I would be tempted to put him higher, except I like those other 2 pitchers a little bit more.
Yeah, I'll say one thing I've noticed, because I've streamed, I think I've streamed him before. I've streamed Soriano, who's the other guy? The other pitcher?
For the Angels? Yeah, Detmers for a while.
Well, I had Detmers, but there's another guy. But anyways, I've streamed a few of them. But one thing I have noticed about Angels pitchers is Ron Washington is a manager, if I recall, right? Ron Washington.
Yep.
He seems to let these guys pitch. Like, he doesn't have a quick hook. Like some of these guys, like I'll stream a pitcher and he goes like 5 innings, throws like 75 pitches, gives up 1 run, and they're like, okay, you're done. I'm like, why isn't he pitching in the 6th inning? Why are you taking him out? Ron Washington lets these guys go deep. So that's very nice in your quality starts league. And it does give him a chance for wins. I mean, 6 wins with the Angels. That's impressive for sure. All right, let's go to one of those young pitchers now. Obviously, we've seen guys like Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, other young pitchers be great this year. Maybe we're about to see a guy you talked about on the waiver wire video this week start to be great, and that is Spencer Schwellenbach. Had a rough start too, got called up at the end of May. Had a rough first 2 starts, got lit up by the Nationals, which is never good. Then got lit up by the Red Sox, which is at least acceptable. But last 2 starts, Orioles, 6 innings, only 2 earned runs. Tigers, okay, they're terrible, but 6 innings, only 1 earned run, so only 3 earned runs over his last 12 innings, 10 strikeouts over the last 12 innings. He's averaging about a strikeout per inning. Another fantastic matchup here, St. Louis and Pittsburgh, 2 of the worst offenses. Is it time we trust the rookie? And is this a guy that, I guess you put him on this is a guy that should just be added everywhere?
I won't go so far as to say everywhere, because obviously if you have some better options, I'm not going to prioritize him. These players we've already talked about, these pitchers, like I still go Taj Bradley over him, Waldron, just more sure things. But you asked me if I'm buying into Schwellenbach. I am. Obviously, the question, as you saw, was, do we trust him? I'm trusting him. I think it's time. I'm usually very cautious with rookie pitchers, maybe to the extreme. It usually doesn't come back to bite me, because a lot of times these pitchers will have those kind of outings, and you're like, yeah, that's why I didn't rush out to get him. But he was a guy that I liked, even though he's not a bigger name prospect, kind coming through the Brave system compared to a guy like Waldrop or some of these other pitchers who have come and gone. He has been really solid throughout the minors, get a little bit more experience. I think he's ready. So I'm trusting him, and the schedule makes it a lot easier because, I mean, yeah, I guess the Pirates, come on, nothing to scare me there. So I will go with Schwellenbach if those others are not available. So I won't say must add, but again, I talked a lot more in detail about this already on the waiver wire video. If you guys have already seen it, don't want to repeat it. If you haven't, then you got to watch it. It all still applies because I haven't made a start since then.
Yes, definitely go check out the waiver wire video after this if you haven't yet, because we're heading into a new week. It's time to make those pickups. And speaking of a guy, I feel like in our league, this guy has been dropped and added maybe more than any other pitcher, and that is Brandon Pfaadt of the Diamondbacks. But you look and it's kind of weird. Like, it's weird when you look at his stats. On the one hand, I mean, going deep, going 6+ innings, all but one outing this year, which is just great because, again, gives you a chance for quality starts, gives you a chance for wins, except he's on the Arizona Diamondbacks, so he only has 3 wins. 84 strikeouts in 90 innings, not bad, but the ratio is not great, a 4.37 ERA. But the last 2 games have been pretty good. Now, granted, it was the Angels and the Nationals, only 4 earned runs, but prior to that, he gave up 9 combined earned runs to the Padres and Mets. So this guy feels like one of those box of chocolates. Like, you just never know what you're going to get. Kind of like I talked about with Michael King, who looked great for all but 1 inning today and got lit up in that 1 inning, unfortunately. But he does get Minnesota and Oakland. Those offenses shouldn't scare you either. So if you're looking deeper on the waiver wire, you playing the matchup here and you're gambling on the good box of chocolates here?
I guess so. I'm gonna put him on this list for this week. He's a guy who's so right there on that borderline, kind of the fence there. It's like between should be owned in leagues and a streamer. He's 2/3, I think, about 2/3 owned in Yahoo leagues. He's on a lot of teams, but not everywhere. And he's one. It's like you never know. Like, it's like, do I start him? Do I not start him? I don't know. This week, I feel like I can start him. Because I don't know, I guess because that's the way the roller coaster works. Once you already went down, you're going to go back up. It's like that's almost how I feel with him. Like, once he gets a couple of bad starts out of his system, he's on the way up. And Oakland, of course, doesn't scare anybody. Minnesota, I mean, obviously a lot better now that Royce Lewis is back and crushing. But still, I think these are 2 starts this week where I'm going to roll with him. And it's funny, you talked about in our league, he being picked up and dropped. I'm one of those. I think I personally have picked him up and dropped him a couple times. You have too. Right now, he's on my roster, so I'm gonna go with him. I'm gonna start him this week and hope for the one of the caramels and not one of those kind of nasty strawberry ones.
Yeah, you bite into it, and it's just like, oh, you want to like spit it out. Like, oh, come on, see, it's candy. Give us the good stuff. Yeah, give us better labels than the good stuff. All right, speaking of, we talked about one boring veteran. How about another boring veteran, this time also in Los Angeles, although technically the Angels are not in Los Angeles, but that's a different rant. For the Dodgers, James Paxton. Another guy, decent ratios, has 3.65 ERA, goes relatively deep in games, has 7 wins, of course, because he's on the Dodgers, but only 43 strikeouts in 66 innings, so not going to help you there. But again, another great schedule this week. The White Sox, I just feel like the White Sox, you can throw almost anybody out against the White Sox and they'll probably come through. And then the Giants, which shouldn't scare you. So if you're looking for a boring veteran with a floor and not a huge ceiling, is this your guy?
That's it. And this is like a combination, Tyler Anderson and Brandon Pfaadt, because he's that boring left-handed innings eater, though he doesn't go as deep into games. Not anymore. I mean, they're just lucky he stays in one piece and makes it through the season. They'll be happy. Look, he's with the Dodgers. Definitely gets you a chance to win. And when he's good in terms of ratios, not good in terms of strikeouts. But hey, gets you a chance for a win. So I will say in quality start league like ours, I'm going to prefer Anderson. In a wins league, you might prefer Paxton, especially because those 2 matchups, good chance for wins. So I say he's like Pfaadt because, with Pfaadt, the roller coaster, it's like every 2 starts, he's like this, right? With Paxton, it's been kind of like this. It's just he was really good to start the beginning of the season. He was solid, and then he got rocked a couple times, and now he's back up. And so I guess the regression hit. He's back to the good version. You're not getting strikeouts. Good chance for a victory here. It's the White Sox, and it's at San Francisco. Great spot for him. So I will say this week I will trust Paxton.
All right, there you go. Trust Paxton. And now let's go with one more young pitcher, probably for those of you in a bit of a deeper league. That's Cade Povich, who's made 3 starts now in June for the Orioles. I guess one bad one good one, and one okay one. So the first start against Toronto was not good. 5 innings, 6 earned runs, only struck out 2. Bounced back against the Braves, those 6 innings pitched, struck out 6, did not give up a single earned run. That was just okay against the Yankees. But, I mean, look, it's the Yankees. But he did only give up 1 earned run, but he only went 4 2/3, only struck out 1 batter. So another guy feels like you don't really know what you're going to get here. Has a decent schedule this week, Cleveland and Texas. Okay bats, not the best schedule here. So is this more of a deep league one only?
Yeah, deep league only. If you're looking for somebody who's available, this is the one who's probably most likely to be available, other than Schwellenbach, who I, of course, prefer. And say Povich, even though he's the number 1 pitching prospect for the Orioles, which obviously says something, he's never going to be Paul Skeens. Not that anybody is, but he's not going to necessarily be ace material ever. But it's impressive. I mean, his last 2 starts, not too bad. He had to face the Braves and the Yankees. So that does tell you something, even though the numbers aren't amazing. Tough matchups. He just is getting his feet wet. I think he'll be much better now against Cleveland, Texas. It's not ideal, but again, deep league. These guys are gone. I'll turn to Povich.
All right, there you go. So there's top 2 start streamers for the week. Of course, if you have questions about other guys or just other pitchers, maybe not 2 starters, just other pitchers to stream, let us know. We will get to those questions shortly. But before we do, we got to talk about something going on in baseball that is taking over baseball right now. Grimace. Grimace is taking over baseball, or at least he's taking over New York, I guess I should say. He's taking over New York. So for those who don't know, it was Grimace's birthday on June 12th. Like, if you didn't know that, I don't know what kind of rock you've been hiding under. Just kidding. Nobody knew that. Except the Mets apparently knew that, and they decided to have him throw the first pitch against the Miami Marlins. And since then, they can't lose. Well, they almost can't lose. They've 8-2 since Grimace threw out the first pitch. So we've been talking about the Mets potentially being sellers at the trade deadline, but here they go. They're coming back. They're storming back. This is a team that could change their mind and say, maybe we can make a run thanks to Grimace.
I don't think we can doubt the power of Grimace at this point, because it has taken over. Look, besides that, the offense has woken up. This past week, no team has scored more runs than the Mets. I mean, that's kind of what we've been waiting for. It's not like the talent wasn't there. I mean, look at this team: Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Starling Marte, even guys like Nimmo has been underachieving. Like, the talent is there. So I just needed a shot in the arm, and here it is. No. Okay. Are the Mets really going to contend? Maybe. Look, they could. If they keep winning, they could push for a wild card. Maybe they aren't sellers at the trade deadline, and that does shift things in terms of fantasy baseball. We're expecting some of these players to move. I think we're too soon to be declaring that either way. Let's just wait and see how far this thing goes. But it is nice to see at least some of these Mets finally producing on offense.
It is nice, definitely, especially for somebody who has a couple of those Mets like Francisco Lindor. It is nice to see it. And it's also nice to see it in your underdog account when you hit those pick'ems and that money hits your account. If you haven't tried underdog yet, there's still time. And look, they got the Mets tonight, Mets and Cubs. You can get on it. Get in on these guys. They don't have a pick'em for Grimace. Unfortunately, that would have been cool, but they didn't do that. But they do have pick'ems for pretty much every player imaginable tonight. You can see them all here. You scroll through. If you haven't tried Underdog Fantasy yet, this is the time to do it. It's always the right time to do it, honestly. But right now, if you join and you make sure you use promo code ENDGAME when you sign up, you're going to get not only a special pick that you can use with one of these picks or multiple of these picks, basically a free square there. But you're also going to get up to $250 in bonus cash. It's a great way to play fantasy baseball outside of your regular leagues. Of course, it's every day because there's baseball games every day. It's something you can do for fun every day. Just throw a quick pick 'em, a couple picks, throw down a few bucks, see what happens. Another way to sweat the games. It's a ton of fun. And of course, if you play fantasy football, they also have fantasy football drafts going right now. And then, of course, they have picks all throughout the season as well for players, as well as every other sport you can see up there. All kinds of crazy sports, things that aren't even sports. I don't even know what half this stuff is, to be honest. So check it out, Underdog Fantasy. Make sure when you join, you use promo code ENDGAME to take advantage of that special pick and the bonus cash. All right, time to get to your questions. And as always, we will get to as many as we can because we do have a underdog draft to do after this, actually. So if you don't want to wait around for your question, like Antoine here, you can drop a super chat and jump to the front of the line. Or if you just want to say thanks for all the hard work, you could drop that super chat. So Antoine dropping the super chat, thank you so much, wants to know Alvarez. So got to catch your question. Alvarez, Soderstrom, or Wilson Contreras in a head-to-head league?
Appreciate you always, Antoine. All right, catcher your questions. It's kind of a staple here. Look, I'm going to go Contreras because he seems like he's going to be back. I think the last I saw was maybe Monday, Tuesday, but now with Ivan Herrera hitting the IL, I mean, not like Contreras wasn't going to play mostly every day anyways, but now guaranteed he's going to be out there at the very least every day for the next 10 days. But I like Contreras the best anyways. He's just a solid, consistent catcher. Alvarez, a little more power, but the average, is kind of the trade-off here. Soderstrom, I like him. Look, I actually like all three of these guys. I think it's close. With Soderstrom, obviously, lesser lineup, less trust here. I mean, yeah, he's playing first base every day, which is nice, but it's the A's. Like, who knows when this randomly one day will send him back down, like just for no reason. So I'm going to go with Contreras. I feel pretty safe about him.
All right, there you go. And then he's got another one. Top 3 underrated young pitchers.
Ooh. Well, now you say young pitchers, we're talking in the majors right now, or are we talking prospects? Because
he's saying not talked about, so maybe prospects.
Underrated, man. Put me on the spot here. Okay. So underrated prospects. And I really honestly would have to sit and think about that. I do like Tank Hence for the Cardinals. I hope that he does get a shot sometime soon. I would love to pick a Marlins pitcher, but at this point, I know better. Noble Myers, probably he's a high-end prospect. I mean, he's probably, I guess you could say he gets talked about in prospect circles, but not too much outside of that. So he's somebody who could eventually make an impact. I'm trying to think if there's another. Will Warren is somebody I'm still kind of waiting on for the Yankees to see if he gets a shot. I know Luis Gill, everybody's crazy about. Warren is a guy I thought would, at some point this season, debut. Maybe he won't now at this point, but he's somebody I would say I'd keep an eye on.
All right, there you go. Thank you so much, Antoine, as always. All right, let's get to the top. Harry Grossman dropped a question over 2 hours ago. Harry, hopefully you're still here.
Yep.
He needs to get Bobby Miller off the IL. He's got to drop Pepio or Eric Fetty. Who are you dropping?
I'm going to hold on to Fetty right now. He's been solid start after start after start. We can hope for better things for him. I mean, really, really good chance he does get traded, and it's an upgrade no matter where he goes, right? So I'm going to hold Fetty. He's one of those guys again. It's kind of surprising, but not too surprising that he's not owned in more fantasy leagues because I guess just the White Sox thing. It's just people are still a little skeptical about him, maybe because he was gone for a year. I like Pepio, but I'm going to keep Fetty. So I guess you can drop Pepio at this point.
All right, there you go. MP31 says, needs to drop. It's a 5 outfielder league, but he needs to drop someone for pitching needs. Wilyer Abreu, David Schneider, Nolan Jones, Wade Jr., David Fry, who kind of looks like he's been fried. Kellenick, Brandon Marsh, Jock Peterson, StatCast Hero. Is he even playing yet? Lars Newbar, is he even back yet?
Not that I'm aware, but I guess
still on the IL.
Yeah. Out of this group, I mean, look, if you're not using him as a utility guy, like catcher or whatever, I'm not holding on to Fry because we already knew this was going to happen, right? I think you can drop him. Schneider, I'm not sure how much longer he'll have value, but at least he's playing. So right now, I'll say I would just drop Fry.
Also, I did just see Fry was removed from the game today due to right elbow inflammation. So
there you go. Perfect timing.
Yeah. All right. V-Rush 26. Is Jared Kellenick a short-term option? Or is he a trustworthy long-term option?
I can't use the word trustworthy there, but short-term, sure. He's leading off, which is nice. The question is, a month from now, are the Braves making a move for an outfielder? I think there's a good chance, right? So I can't call him a trustworthy long-term option because, A, I really don't see him being out there every day rest of season unless he happens to start raking. I mean, I don't think we're going to see anything much different than what we've seen, right, at this point. So I think short-term only.
All right. There you go. Uwe2K, what's up? Who's the better ad? Alec Burleson, Brendan Donovan, who's been on fire, and you can pretty much start him anywhere you want. Is that Heimer Candelario? Is that who that's supposed to be? Who has also been on fire? Ask me how I know. Or Carlos Santana in a head-to-head points league. If you're adding one of these, who are you adding?
It's Candelario because, I mean, yeah, he's been on fire. But to me, this was what I've been waiting for with Candelario. I mean, he got such a bad start. Very, very disappointed to say the least. And I dropped him in a couple of leagues, and I'm wishing I had him back. I loved him in the preseason. Thought he was a great pick, great value. Now he's finally showing up. So I'm going to go Candelario. Donovan is still solid because, like you said, that positional eligibility is very nice. But I'm going to go Candelario. Now, it's a points league, so that changes things a little bit. I know Santana, you always used to think, like, oh, he's a points league stud. That was how many years ago? Nah. I'll go Candelario.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Uwe2K. All right, Rafael Juarez, what's up? Good to see you again. He wants to drop Max Fried for Kellenick in a 10-team league. What do you think?
I was going to say Fried, or I hope that's Friedel, maybe TJ Friedel.
You're right. I think it's supposed to be Friedel. I read it as Max Fried, but I think it's supposed to be Friedel. Okay, yes, that makes more sense.
Would make more sense. It's like, don't drop Max Fried.
All right, Friedel for Kellenick in a 10-team league.
It's close here. The thing is with Friedel, you're getting speed, right? He'll get you some steals. Now, Friedel, I know the aggravating thing with him is he's always banged up, right? Always the injuries throughout the season, but he's playing right now. I know he hasn't exactly been hot lately, but I still think I like Friedel better. I know Kellenick is getting a lot of interest because of his, his past pedigree and because he's with the Braves, obviously. But I don't know. I find it hard to buy into Kellenick really full blown. I'm going to still stick with Friedel. I think he gets you more fantasy value. And like I said, I just think it's a matter of time before the Braves do make a move. Kellenick is either back platooning again, dropped in the order, both. So in a 10-team league, look, honestly, if Jock Peterson is out there, I'd rather have him than Kellenick. But I'd rather have Friedel.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Rafael. Appreciate you. All right, Jahoni was with us last time. Welcome back. Padres are doing good. Are you stashing Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, Dean Kramer? Are you stashing any of these guys?
Darvish, definitely. I mean, we know Yu Darvish, but also he was actually having a really good season. So if he's out there, I would definitely stash Darvish. Musgrove, a little different. It's just being rough this year. I don't know that I would go out of my way to stash him, but Darvish definitely. With Kramer, no, I don't think so. I'm not. I'm not feeling like he's going to be a significant asset for fantasy teams. I mean, he's solid, but nothing that's going to really be a difference maker for you. I just don't know that the risk is worth any potential reward. I guess we'll put it that way.
All right, there you go. Thank you. Welcome back. All right, I think this is a new. I don't recognize Kauhu Lazo. Apologies if I mispronounced that, which I'm sure I did. Welcome. He or she has a rotation of Cole Reagans, George Kirby, Matt Waldron, Garrett Crochet, Gavin Stone, and Reese Olson, who has suddenly looked good again. Any improvement here?
Well, you're pretty good. Now, I don't know if this is like a 12-team league. I guess I would assume so. If so, I think you're fine because Kirby is kind of your ace. Reagans is a solid SP2. Ryan, you don't really have any big liabilities here. I think you're fine. Now, again, I'm assuming this is like a 5x5 roto 12-team league, but I would be happy with that rotation. I don't think anybody here is like a clear sell high or a clear risk factor. So again, just not knowing any of the other variables here with your team, your league, I think you're good. I would be happy with that rotation.
All right, there you go. And yeah, man, Reese Olson picked him up off waivers this week, came through for me today. After a stretch of looking really bad. Uwe2K, if you could only add one, who are you adding? Schwellenbach, who we talked about. Kyle Gibson, who I also added. And all I got from my ad from Kyle Gibson is a waste of an ad. Stroman, Ober, or Tobias Myers?
I was going to say, I'm just going to scratch Gibson off that list. He never really interests me anyways. But yeah, did you pick up Gibson? I didn't even notice that.
I picked up Gibson to stream him against, like, I don't know, somebody terrible. And they let him go on bereavement because there was like a death in his family, but like, he's going to make his next start. So I pick him up. I picked him up literally the morning of. They're like, yeah, he's starting. And like an hour later, like, scratch with back tightness. I was like, oh, well, that's a waiver wire. There's a waiver wire ad I can never get back. I dropped him.
I mean, he's fine. He's again one of these innings eaters. He'll be fine. But his next start against Atlanta, it's not ideal. You're gonna have to wait a couple days. Like, yeah. Look, Bailey Ober has been mostly really good. In fact, he just had an amazing outing. Didn't he just throw a complete game? I want to say, like, Ober. I like Schwellenbach, right? Obviously, I like Schwellenbach, but I'm not going to put him first on this list. I would say I would just pick up Ober first. He's the one I like the best. And then Tobias Myers, again, in fact, he's still pitching. Is he still pitching, or is it what's the deal in that game? No, that game is over, I think. Let me see. I think he was good again.
Yeah, Bailey Ober did have a complete game, 10 strikeout game against the A's yesterday.
Yeah. Bailey Ober has been really good since the very first time.
Myers went 5 innings today, struck out 3. I think he only gave up a run or 2.
Yeah, so that game is almost over. 5 innings, 1 run. Solid again. I'll say Ober. I mean, I can only pick one. I'll pick Ober. And then Tobias Myers would be my number 2.
All right, there we go. Andrew, what's up? Wants to know if we talked about Shane Baz. We did not. But I think you talked about him on the waiver wire video, correct?
We haven't talked about him today yet, but been talking about him for a couple of weeks. I got him stashed. I mean, we're just waiting, right? We're playing the waiting game here. Feels like any day it should happen. Who knows? But yeah, Baz, great stash right now. If he's out there, this is the time. I mean, you still have a chance to get him because as far as I know, he's only owned in about a third of leagues, which, we haven't heard a lot about him lately. Oh no, I'm wrong. He's been added in. Wow, his ownership rate went up like 20% just over the weekend. So I guess there must have been something that came out about him because As far as I know, he hasn't got called up.
All right. So yeah, if he's still out there, go get him.
Wow.
All right. Okay. Game G. Reese Olson should be rostered, right? So Reese Olson, I actually picked up Reese Olson early in the season. He was really good. And then he went through a really rough stretch where he got rocked by the Red Sox, rocked by the Brewers, rocked by the Nationals. But the last two starts, 6 innings, no earned runs to the Braves. And today had a nice, it is the White Sox, but 6 and a third innings, only 2 earned runs. So is this a guy who should be rostered or more like a stream him if you need him guy?
I can't go out and say he's a must add right now because there are also limitations to his fantasy value. Again, let's remember he has 1 win on the season? Does he even have a win yet? He was winless, despite being pretty good. I mean, he's not getting wins. He just isn't, right? Now he has 2 wins now. Okay. The record is not helping you. Strikeouts are fine, but not great. So he has to be on his game to really help you. But I think he's rosterable in 12-team leagues if the schedule is right. So I guess I'm placing him more as like a high-end streamer.
There you go. Makes sense. All right. MP31 is a little nervous because he dropped Jordan Romano earlier today. Did he make a mistake? I'm just going to tell you, as somebody who has Jordan Romano, I don't think he made a mistake, but let's hear what Pierre says.
I can't say no because he just, I think yesterday had like some sort of setback again. He's still feeling soreness. It's the throwing elbow. It's not, like we're on the way towards season-ending injury, I don't think. But yeah, this is concerning now. So, I mean, I think you could stash him, but if you can't stash him, yeah, this might not be a mistake. So I would say if you did drop him, you need saves, go get Chad Green. Talked about him in the waiver wire video because Yimi Garcia, who was the closer after Romano, he's also hurt. So.
Yep. All right. There you go. Verlis, what's up?
What's up?
Drop Singer, Pivetta, or Win to activate Scherzer from the IL. He's pretty deep in starting pitcher, and it's a 5x5 12-team league.
Is that Keaton Win for the Giants? If it's Keaton Win, you can drop him like a bad habit. I mean, he's been bad. So, yeah. If Keaton Win, you can drop Keaton Win. I can't imagine who else it would be unless you're talking
Mason Win, but the only reason I don't think Mason Win is because the other two are pitchers, but maybe.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's Keaton Win, but either way, it's Win.
All right. Drop Win for the win. All right, Andrew, again, how do you feel about Alec Marsh?
Not great. I mean, he's been a 2-start streamer several times this year, and I don't even remember maybe once recommending him. He's a guy who, again, I feel like any potential upside he gives you isn't worth a potential risk because he's one of those guys that when he's off, he's really off, and his expected numbers are never really good. He hasn't been really good this month at all, except for maybe one time. So, I mean, I feel like I'm just kind of staying away from him still.
All right. And then Cerulean Dog. Well, wait, hold on. Sorry, Cerulean Dog. Antoine dropped a super chat. I want to make sure we get the super chats in. Apologies. Okay. Do you take weather, wind into consideration? I'll just say really quick one thing I look at. If it seems like the game might get postponed, like if I look at the weather and they're saying like, yeah, good chance it's going to get postponed, then I might switch out a player. Like if it's a player like a hitter, I might just put a different hitter in case it gets postponed, because that's happened to me many times where I'm like, oh, my lineup's set, and then I look a few hours later and it's like, oh, the guy in my lineup got postponed. So that's pretty much all I look at for weather, though. What about you?
Well, I'll say this: when we talk about 2-start streamers because we're looking for the weekend, ahead, right? And a lot of times there's leagues where you make either your waiver claims and or set your lineups a week at a time. If you're one of those, then you can't really look too far ahead for the weather. So you go for the schedule. I don't really start looking at daily weather. unless I'm doing DFS or if I'm doing like an underdog, something like picks, But even then, only we know this, right? This from football, especially from baseball too. You can't overreact to weather because it does not go always the way you think. I don't just mean that the weather doesn't act the way you think it's going to, but the players don't always react to the weather the way you would expect them to. So only if we hear like the wind's blowing out hard. Okay, fine. If the wind is blowing out, then yeah, I might sit that pitcher, or vice versa. But I mostly don't. I mean, if you're streaming on a daily basis and if there's like a tiebreaker, maybe I would go to that. But no, I look more at home park than I do at weather.
All right, there you go. All right, now back to Cerulean Dog, and thank you again, Antoine. Pablo Lopez finally back. 8 innings, 14 strikeouts today. No earned runs, only 2 hits, only 1 walk. But it was the Athletics. So is he back? Is he back officially, or is this like good sign, but we need to see a little more still?
Yeah, like two things. Number one, it was Oakland, so take it for what it's worth. But also, this is why you don't give up on a guy like Pablo Lopez. You don't panic. Somebody just the other day in the Discord was like, "So Pablo Lopez got dropped. Should I pick him up?" It's like, what? Yes. But again, you cannot do these things. Certain players, sure. With like Nick Castellanos, we're all fed up, right? We're tired. Like, okay, the guy's a bum. Just fine. Just drop him if you need to. And of course, you know what has happened since then. Nick Castellanos took it personally. But that's different. This is an ace. This is one of the better starting pitchers that you're looking for. So you just can't drop a guy like that if you don't have a good reason to. So if you bought low on Pablo Lopez, congrats. That's what we've been talking about. I think I put him on the buy low, 2-3 times so far this year?
Yeah, definitely. So, hypothetical, if Kevin Gausman got dropped, would anybody pick him up?
Yeah, somebody would, and I would say somebody should. I mean, I'm not going to say I like Gausman as much as Pablo Lopez, but I would pick up Kevin Gausman.
Would somebody pick up Kevin Gausman? Like, this is like, remember who? I think it was last year. I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but last year towards the end of the football season, somebody came up with the trap drop where you drop somebody that you hope your opponent picks him up for the trap. That's how I feel about Kevin Gausman. Like, maybe if I drop Kevin Gausman, my opponent will pick him up and play him against me. It'll be so great. This guy's terrible. Terrible. All right.
Well, it's funny because talk about like, look at his June starts. It's like bad, really good, bad. Oh, wait a minute. That complete game shutout was against the Oakland A's. It's like, maybe it doesn't even count.
Exactly. All right, Alberto, what's up? Welcome. Is Ryan Pepio droppable in the points league?
Yeah, and especially in a points league, I'm not going to say he's a must hold. Inconsistent. We'll have his good games. We'll have his bad games. Very borderline here. I mean, I can't say one way or another. You have to pick him up if he's out there. You have to drop him if you got him. But is he droppable for somebody better? I think so.
All right. If you need to, go ahead. JC wants you to rank the following pitchers: Shane Baz, Gavin Williams, Jeffrey Springs, Robbie Ray. So we got 2 guys who haven't pitched this year. Is Jeffrey Springs pitched yet? Or 3 guys? Actually, have any of these guys pitched yet? None of these guys have pitched yet. All right, so rank them.
Okay, so the guys who may at some point show up and pitch. I'm going to go. All right, well, let me say this. Before the season, if you would ask me this, I would have put Gavin Williams first because I really thought he would be back by now. And he's still not back, and who knows? I'm putting him last. It's taking way too long here, and he's still the riskiest of all this group. So I'm going to say I'll put Gavin Williams last. Robbie Ray, I'm probably going to put third because I think he's at least a couple weeks off, and then we don't know how he's going to look when he's back. So I guess I'm going the Tampa Bay pitchers first and second. I'll put Baz first.
All right, there you go. Thank you, JC. All right, Zombie. I was hoping maybe it would be like a screenshot from Zombie. You know what I'm talking about. You know exactly.
The Fulci masterpiece.
Yes, you know what I'm talking about. I don't know what that is. Anyways, what's up, Zombie? You probably have no idea what we're talking about. Anyways, would you start Kyle Gibson over Duran or Iglesias in a points league?
If you're, it's tricky in a points league because points leagues are not created equally. It depends on the scoring and how much you get for a save versus how much you get for a win. Do you get points for quality starts? Do you get points for quality starts and wins? So it's really hard to kind of just answer that question without knowing that. I mean, if you do get a bump for a quality start, then I think you can go Gibson over Duran because Duran is a good pitcher, but doesn't always get the save opportunities. So again, just not knowing the details here, I'd say sure you could do that because you're probably likely to get more points from a pitcher who goes 5-6 innings, assuming he's decent, than a closer.
All right, that's a good segue to this one from Wilson. Should we be worried about Duran? Put Jackson today in a 3-0 game, even though Duran didn't pitch yesterday. Are we worried about it?
Should you be worried about Baldelli? Yes. His decision making? Yeah, we can't do anything about that. Like I've said this before with Duran, is he's not going to get every save opportunity, even when he's healthy. This is what's happened. But by the time the year's over, he will still somehow wind up with probably about 20 saves. And you'll be frustrated. You'll say, why didn't he get 30? Why didn't he get, why did Jax come up with 12 saves? Even after Duran was back. That's just how this team is. This is how this manager is, right? So it's frustrating, but he will still get you some saves. He's still one of the highest strikeout rate closers out there. He's getting you strikeouts. He's helping your ratios. So at this point, I'm not worried about Duran. I've just come to the acceptance stage. And again, I talked about this several weeks ago with Duran because we put him on the Panic video. I mean, this is a while ago, right? But this is what you're going to get.
All right. And then Andrew wants to know, are you stashing Max Mayer?
I'll tell you what I did with Max Mayer. I stashed him like a week ago, and I got tired of waiting, so I dropped him because either the front office miscommunicated or Skip Schumacher, talking about the manager of the Marlins, was confused, or I don't know. But we thought he was about to come back, and he isn't. So, I mean, if you got nothing else going on in your NA spot and you're looking for an upside stash, as long as you don't mind waiting indefinitely, then you can stash him. But who knows? They're going to just spring this on us one day. He'll get called up so that nobody knows ahead of time.
All right. Uwe2K again. Are we dropping Adolis Garcia for Josh Smith or still holding onto Garcia?
No, I'm not dropping Garcia. I'll hold him. He'll be better. So, I mean, if you need an infielder or utility type player like Josh Smith, there's got to be somebody else you can drop. So, am I holding on to Garcia? Yes.
All right. And then let's go back to Wilson here because another Duran question. Closer for closer violence. Duran or Edwin Diaz, who you want?
I'll take Edwin Diaz because that whole episode, I guess, is over. Assuming it doesn't come back. I'm gonna still believe in Edwin Diaz. So I think the upside for more saves rest of the season lies with Diaz, though he doesn't have that many. But like he's still been, other than that little stretch, pretty good this season. And he's been pretty good lately ever since coming back. So I'm just going to assume we're getting Edwin Diaz, and I think I got to give him the edge.
All right. Go get Diaz or keep Diaz. I'm guessing you have Duran since you asked about that Duran question. So go get Diaz. All right. Ganji wants to know, Bryce Turang and Joey Ortiz, long-term options. He's had them both, and they haven't failed him yet.
Yeah. Turang is legit. He's hitting. He's not just getting you steals. He's hitting well. He's been there all season doing it. So you definitely got to buy into him at this point. Ortiz, I think is solid. Not getting you as high of a ceiling here, but yeah, I like Ortiz in a deep enough league. So I think with Ortiz, I wasn't sure about the playing time because again, they keep jerking guys around the infield back and forth. Tyler Black is back up again, but it looks like there's room for all these guys. So Turang for sure. Ortiz, I think you can hold on to him for now.
All right, JC wants to know, are we worried about Michael Garcia? He's been struggling, and he was moved from the leadoff spot to the bottom of the order. It's hard to really worry about a guy that's been on your bench, but are we worried about him?
No, and in fact, JC, if you look at last week's buy low video, just came out a few days ago, got Michael Garcia on there. This is a good time to take advantage. If you don't have him, obviously you do have him. So I'm just going to hold tight here. Don't sell low on him. Don't drop him. Guy's getting a ton of steals, but even besides that, probably don't realize his run and RBI totals are really good for the position he's playing with getting those steals. Batting average, I know right now it's a downslide, but this is what he's done. He started off the season like this, came back. I think he'll be fine. So I'm not worried about Garcia. I like Garcia a lot. And again, if I don't have him, I'm trying to get him.
All right. There you go. Keep him on your bench or put him in your lineup. He gets you counting stats. MP31 is Aroldis Chapman a pickup with Bednar now on the 15-day IL with a bad oblique.
Anybody can get you saves is worth the pickup. Chapman hasn't been vintage Chapman this year necessarily. I mean, we're obviously not going to get that back again. He's a little older now, but yeah, if we know for sure that he's going to be the guy who's getting saves, I can't say he's not worth a pickup.
All right. RK, the Jays fan. Sorry. In a very deep league, not a lot of options for pitching and hitting. You got any deep guys? I know you probably talked about some of them on the waiver because I know you always try to throw in a couple deep league specials on the waiver wire video. So if you haven't checked that out yet, go check them out. I know a couple guys. Oh, you've already updated it for this week.
What?
I can't go back. I was going to go back and look at your list, but the list is gone. So anyways, help a Jays fan out because he obviously needs help because he's a Jays fan. So
all right.
Deep league pitching and hitting.
Deep league. And then this is right up my alley because I'm in some very deep leagues. I just picked up Michael Toglia for the Rockies. He's been swinging a hot bat. The Rockies offense has been pretty good. He's almost bound to be out there. He's only 4% rostered. So Rockies offense right now might be a good source for some offense. Let me go with a couple more hitters, I guess, before I talk about. I'm also in an NL only league, which again, you got to get deep when you're in one of those type of leagues. I do have Trey Lipscomb. He doesn't play regularly. If he does ever, then I think he's a decent option. Donovan Solano, boring, but he's been getting some playing time here and there. Hunter Goodman, also for the Rockies, plays first base and outfield, and if he ever gets enough time behind the plate, could actually qualify at catcher too, which would be very nice. So there's another option. Oh, Tyler Black, just mentioned him for Milwaukee, got called back up. A lot of people didn't seem to notice. High-end prospect. If he continues to actually play, could be a nice ad for sure. And yeah, he's again 4% roster, only 4%. I mean, good chance he's out there. And if you want to take a shot, maybe Luis Matos, who just got recalled again, if he starts swinging a hot bat. Remember, he was on fire when he first got called up, and then he slumped, and then he got sent down, and now Heliot Ramos is the one who's on fire. Maybe they'll both be hot at the same time. Who knows? So that's my hitting recommendations for deep leagues. As far as pitchers, obviously a little harder. Let's see for pitchers. Let's see who I'm usually pretty good at not having to pick up too many pitchers in deep leagues because I know it's definitely harder to find. I mean, really, if you're looking for a starting pitcher, you just got to look at these streamer types. You're going to look at young pitchers like Povich and Schwellenbach. You're going to have to look for guys who are just going to have the short-term value, not necessarily going to be guys that are you're going to hold long-term. You could take a chance on stashing somebody like a Meyer or Baz if nobody's out there. Look, a lot of people don't even realize Robbie Ray might be back soon. Again, those kind of pitchers we've talked about. I know Uncle Ted is a big fan of Landon Knack. Shout out to Uncle Ted on the stream here. Yeah, he might be worth an ad. Of course, he is also on the Dodgers, so owned in more leagues. And hey, one of our 2-start streamers, not a wrestler, even though it sounds like it, Hogan Harris for Oakland A's, had another quality start today. I mean, Hogan Harris is out there. He's holding his own.
All right, there you go, Jays fan. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Uwe2K, how long will Trevor McGill be the closer, and do you like him?
I don't know him personally, so I can't answer the second question. Trevor McGill is going to keep the job until Devin Williams is back, and Devin Williams is not coming back soon. So I think he'll keep the job for a while. He's been good. We can forget about Abner Uribe completely. And then Payamps was never really going to be the guy. Yeah, I think just assume McGill is the guy until further notice, at least post All-Star break.
All right. Thank you again. All right. Wilson wants to know about Nolan Jones. Is he droppable? His XBA was way lower than his batting average last season. I think you talked about this on the bus video in the offseason, leading him to believe last year was a fluke. So are we seeing the real Nolan Jones this year, and can he be dropped?
All right. So that same Bilo video with Michael Garcia talked about Nolan Jones, and I'll give you the short version of what I said. If you don't want to go out and watch it, which you should anyways. Had Nolan Jones as a draft bust in the preseason, did not draft Nolan Jones anywhere because his XBA was way lower than his batting average, and he way overperformed last year. But now look what's happening. People are dropping him. People are trading him. He was one of the most traded players last week. So what does that mean? It's time to buy low. Now, is he going to do what he did last year? Of course not. But can he still get you home runs? Can he still steal bases? Yeah, that's got value. He's not going to hit 300, but he's also not going to hit 200. It'll be somewhere in between. He's going to be in the middle of the Rockies lineup. The Rockies are starting to actually look like a decent offense. So he's got value. Don't drop him. Just don't expect him to be a fantasy stud.
There you go. All right. Jahoni again wants to know, he's got Crochet and Luis Robert Jr. hoping they get traded, but he's worried that the White Sox owner is going to ask for too much and teams will back off. So we've talked about this a couple times already, but are you still feeling like these guys are trade candidates?
I mean, they're definitely strong trade candidates. I feel Crochet, it's almost inevitable. Robert may not get traded. I mean, they don't have to move these players. Just because they're horrible doesn't mean they have to trade all their good players. He's still very young. He's still very talented. And if they're asking, for the moon, then some teams might not want to do this. With a pitcher, it's different. There's such a need for pitching. I think teams are more likely to give up whatever they're asking for. And I think they got to be more realistic with a pitcher like Crochet, who this is his first year with success as a starter, because this is his first year as a starter, and he's got injuries, and this is past and all this. With Robert, it's different. So anyways, I would probably say odds 6-1, something that Crochet getting traded. Robert, I'm not for sure that he will get traded.
All right. F wants to know, is this the Wyatt Langford we were told about over the last 2 weeks? He's batting .349, 2 home runs, 15 RBIs, 6 stolen bases.
Yep. He's here. Just took an injury and a stint on the IL to come back and wake up, I guess. I mean, we never know, right? What we always say with prospects, the trajectory is not linear, right? It's just Some guys it clicks sooner than others. This looks like him. So talked about him as a strong pickup a couple of weeks ago, and then talked about him as a buy low a week ago. If he's out there, if you can get him, this might be your last chance.
All right, go get him, or if you have him, be happy. Gross Bros Parodies. Nolan Gorman's available in his league. Is he a second half sleeper?
Interesting. What Gorman is a very streaky power hitter. And so I think what you have to expect with him is when he's hot, you stream him. When he's not, you bench him. And I think that's it. I don't think he's more than that. He's not going to hit for average unless he's in a hot streak. And he's definitely a player of extremes. So if he's available in your league, you can pick him up. I just don't want you to think that he's a guy you're going to set and forget and put in your starting lineup the rest of the season, because he shouldn't be. He should only be played when he's being productive.
All right. And then Joseph wants to know, what about Nolan Arenado? Is he worth hanging on to?
Yeah, I mean, disappointing, sure. Super helpful, maybe not, but it's not like he's not quite at the just a guy level yet, right? He's slightly better than just a guy still. He's got some power. He'll drive in runs. The RBI totals are still decent. So, yeah, worth hanging on to. I mean, if you're in an 8-team league, no, but if you're asking, that you probably are either playing him sometimes or you're it. I mean, I don't know. Like, if you ask me, regardless of position, it's like, okay, well, White Langford is out there. Do I drop Arenado to get White Langford? I might do that. Because Langford's getting you steals. Langford's power at this point maybe will match up to Arenado, whose power is starting to fade. So it really depends. But for the most part, yeah, I think you could hang on to him.
All right, and then we didn't talk about this, kind of newsworthy, I guess, because I noticed in our league, I saw the little thing come through that you dropped Orelvis Martinez. I was like, that's weird. And then I went and looked, and it's like, oh, PED suspension, 80 days PED suspension, 2 days in the bigs, gets popped. Not good.
Yeah, well, the Blue Jays, this is just one of those years for them, I guess. At this point, they're just going to throw their hands up. You're like, yeah, what, really? Yeah, so much for stashing him.
All right, we did talk about, yeah, exactly. We did talk about this a little bit, but Boba Jet with the Pedro with the super chat probably just dropping in. Okay, so Pablo Lopez obviously was incredible today against the A's. Let's not forget Kevin Gausman just a few weeks ago struck out 10 against the A's. But I know you've been high on
so much bitterness in your voice when you talk about Kevin Gausman.
I just wish I could drop. I would honestly, I just want to drop him and stream. But anyway, I know I can't. But it's so frustrating. But anyways, I know you're still high on Pablo Lopez. So irrespective of the incredible outing against the lowly A's today, you think we see vintage Pablo Lopez rest of the season?
Yes. Do I think this is Pablo? Yes. I mean, it's not like he won't have another bump in the road here and there, but the signs were all pointing to him still being, pretty much what he was last year. Remember last year, he didn't got to an amazing start necessarily. He was better as the season wore on. Yes, I mean, we're not going to see this every time out because he's not going to play Oakland every time. But yeah, this is why you can't just look at ERA as an indicator of how a pitcher's doing, because ERA is outcome based and there's so many different factors that go into it. Look at somebody like Sierra. That's a much better indicator. Ex-Woba. I mean, Pablo Lopez was still striking out batters, but just the ERA got inflated. Sometimes the guy has one just really, really bad start, and that inflates his numbers. So for the most part, Boba Jet, I think, yes, this is what we get.
All right. And then MP31 again is a bat. So we have a lot of questions about, like, do I even need to play a catcher? He's playing two of them. He's got Francisco Alvarez and Wilson Contreras. Do you have both those guys? Are you fine with them in your lineup?
Can you DH one of them? Yeah, you can. I mean, Alvarez has massive power upside, and of course, the Mets are just they're rolling, grimacing through the season. So, yeah, I don't hate that strategy as long as it's a catcher that has more upside than whoever you're not DHing. I mean, obviously, if you're asking this, you don't love whoever else you got on your bench, but no, I don't think it's a bad idea.
All right, and then F says he's been holding Jason Dominguez all year until recent injury. Will we see Spencer Jones or Augustin Ramirez soon, or even by the end of the season?
I wouldn't say soon. I mean, look, with the way Yankees are going, again, assuming there's no injuries. Of course, injuries change things, right? But assuming things stay the way they are, I think we probably see them stand pat, maybe add another veteran. They've been doing this. I mean, look at what they just did. JD Davis, several weeks ago, they added John Birdie. They're going to look for some veteran depth. I'm not counting on these young guys coming up before August. End of season, yeah, they'll probably at least Jones, Dominguez, if he ever can stay healthy, maybe Ramirez. We'll see them get like their cup of coffee. But if things stay the way they are, I don't expect them to come up soon.
All right, and then another super chat from Boba Jet. Thank you. What are your thoughts on Yandy Diaz and Brendan Donovan? We did talk about Donovan a little bit with another question earlier, but what are your thoughts on these guys?
Donovan is kind of one of those solid Swiss Army knife types. Again, power is not tremendous here. Not going to get you a lot of steals. In a typical Roto League, kind of limited value. But if he's hot, he's hot. You stream him. You can put him in, infield, outfield, whatever. So useful. But I'm not going to get too excited here. Yandy, like disappointing so far, which you could say for almost all of the Tampa Bay offense. But I'm keeping in my lineup. He is at least hitting for a decent average. The average should come up. The power should come back. I think Yandy, just hold on to him if you got him. I think I lost Chris. Chris, you there? Okay. Well, actually, it is time for us to go anyways, because we are about to do a football draft. So we're going to sign out right now. Thank you guys for checking us out. And if you haven't tried Underdog yet, try it. You can do those MLB picks. We'll be back on Wednesday for another live MLB stream. Until then, check out all the videos coming out. Panic Player, Buy Low, Waiver Wire, everything to help you out.